Yes, I am.
I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting here on Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here.
Ms. McKee, would you lead us in the invocation,
Please
please?
stand for me and bow your heads. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. We thank you for bringing us here safely. And we ask that you take us home safely. We ask you to bless Etna Township, bless the leadership here, and ask you to continue to bless our country. Please, Lord, we ask you to bless our military as they go out and protect this great nation of America. And we thank you again for allowing us to come together and make the decisions of this township in a wise, mannerable way. We thank you again in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any amendments?
I'm not sure. Do we want to propose an amendment for the extension of the park portalet, or is that we're going to cover that under something else?
We can add it to new business if you want
Okay.
to add it to new, request to be added to new business now, and you can.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to add the extension of the park portalet to new business.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yeah.
Any other amendments? Thank you.
That's okay.
I'll move to make the amendment to add the intergovernmental agreement with the Licking County engineers, and this is for Pike Street. Is there a second to add that to the agenda?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. That'll go under new business as well.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And then, do we need to add this resolution for the prosecutor's opinion? Okay, I'd like to add resolution 2024053, resolution authorizing administrator to request legal opinions to new business.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
I guess we'll discuss it when we get into it. So, that's all. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion, that amendment passes. I'm going to make an amendment at this time to replace Trustee Mark Evans as the Vice President of the Etna Township Board of Trustees, and to replace him with Trustee Rosalind McKee for the remainder of this year and until the next reorganization committee of the Board of Trustees, which will be in January of 2025. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
That'll be added under new business. Any further discussion on the amended agenda as discussed and presented? Hearing none, roll call on the amended agenda.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
very good. The agenda is adopted. We'll go to the adoption of the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to adopt Township Trustee Special Meeting June 26, 2024? I will so move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, discussion?
Yes, Mr. Burkholder, have you finally reviewed these? for approval?
I've reviewed all of these, but I've also been in constant consultation with our administrator, who has worked very closely with our administrative assistant to make sure these are correct.
Okay, well, that's a good change. Thank you.
Do you have anything, Ms. McKee?
I don't have anything.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
those minutes are approved. I'll make a motion to approve the July 2nd regular Township Trustee meeting 2024. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No, I've already submitted my corrections.
Very good. I'm glad we can move on finally. Any further discussion?
None. Just
Roll call, please.
only reviewed them.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
those minutes are approved. I'll make the motion to approve the July 16th regular meeting of 2024. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Have the other trustees reviewed it?
Yes.
That's good. I've already submitted my corrections.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
those minutes are approved. And now I'll move to approve the August 20th regular minutes 2024. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No, I've already submitted mine, and I do have a question. Did the other two trustees submit any corrections for any of these minutes?
I haven't seen them.
I haven't
Need
seen
to be
it.
done.
I did not.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
minutes are approved. Thank you. And now to the administrator's report. Ms. Bledsoe.
Attached is going forward, just to kind of let everybody know what to expect, is for things that are on the agenda that may need some additional explanation aside from just the information that's attached to the resolution. I may just put a little blurb in there to give you some of that information. Secondarily, it's a way to kind of keep some of the information flowing. So when there are either projects or issues that are being dealt with, it's not going to be every single thing that we're dealing with because that's just way too much. But some of those that are, probably a little higher profile, those will be included on that report going forward. And essentially it speaks for itself.
Okay.
And I'd like to thank you for providing a written report to the board prior. It's one of the things I've been pushing for, and it's good to see you. Thank you.
I noticed we've been dealing with wind waste. I did talk to a resident again today who apparently is still having difficulty with that extra charge if you don't go electronic. So I just want to mention that I talked to a resident again today. So it appears to be a continuing problem with them, so.
Well, essentially, since we're down to they have indicated that there's only about 40 customers at this juncture. And so essentially, I've been in communication with them. I'm going to follow back up to get constant kind of updates on where they are in those last 40. I've spoken with a couple residents also. Some where the rate changes is they were thinking they were getting this administrative fee for the online payment when in fact it dealt with the rate. So we cleared that up. So like I said, as I will continue to monitor with our customer service rep to ensure that those last 40 are taken care of. Hopefully by I'll say into November. I'll overpromise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, now's the time to come to public comments. You'll have 3 minutes. Anyone that would like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and address the board, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time?
Steve Wood, 6968 Palmer Road, Etna, Ohio. I'm coming to the board tonight to ask that with the revitalization of this park over here, that you consider putting in a permanent restroom with the foresight of that you're adding a second part to our township, and that, at that point in time, are you going to use porta-johns over there too? So if you're going to have permanent ones over there, you should also have one here, instead of renting porta-johns for people to use. And whoever cares for over there can also be part of caring for this part, because you'll need both services at both places. And it wouldn't be a difference in cost. I'm sure you'll hire somebody hourly to do that. But just having that foresight, I think that should be something that should be considered in the park committee that you have formed going forward anyway. All right?
Very good. Thank you for the input. Anyone else at this time?
Sorry, I did it.
Letitia McIntyre, 15 3rd Avenue Southwest. Just coming here because I know the public hearing is going to be with something that our board did approve to be sent to you all. So if there are any questions or anything, I just want to make sure that you know I am here and I can answer them for you. Also, I do appreciate some of the sidebar conversations to explain some of the procedures that is going to happen. I want to say I do appreciate that, and all of the trustees working very hard with this text amendment. I know everyone has had their part. I thank you, even Mark, because you have pushed through some things that did need to push through. So just if I am needed, I am here. And also, welcome to the new administrator.
Thank you, and I must say, it has been a winding road to get to this point, but we do appreciate all the work that the zoning commission put in to contribute to this. Is there anyone else at this time like to speak?
Dave Fulmer, 63 Trail East. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes and voice my concern with the fire levy. So, if people don't know, I spent about 30 years in the emergency services, 16 years as a career fire chief. 4 of that was here with the West Licking Joint Fire District. I don't have an axe to grind with the fire department. I'm probably their biggest supporter, even though some may not think, because I was fired as the fire chief. But I do, and I was shocked to learn of a 4 mil increase being put on the levy with very little information. Not until last week did I see a fact sheet when the fire board and the fire district has known about this levy, when they passed a resolution to have the auditor certify the tax roll. There isn't any information on the district's website. For me personally, it means about a $650 increase after my property taxes have doubled. And having been in that role, and I still do a fair amount of public safety consulting around the country, it's not the way you advertise for a levy, it's not the way you justify it. And it hurts me, and I'm still working. These people that are on fixed incomes and that are retired, I don't know how they're going to be able to afford it. I know the fire department's going through an accreditation process. I would have thought that there would have been some advertising and public outreach to try to educate the public on the need for additional staffing, and basically raising $9.5 million on top of what they already have. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go around the district and figure out there's a lot of growth. But I think it's fiscally irresponsible to fly this under the wire with very little being mentioned about it and ask the taxpayers to approve it. And I heard grumblings about it. A lot of people may show up not realizing that it's a 4 mil increase and just vote for it thinking the taxes aren't going to go up. And it is. I would like to see, granted, the fire department's the fire department, but they have an oversight board. It's up to that oversight board to relay that information to get this thing passed.
You have 30 seconds.
So I would ask the board of trustees to go on record and not support it and push, have an educational outreach program done and put it back on the ballot in the spring. I think it's an injustice for the taxpayers to pass it not knowing the full extent of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Just quickly, I wanted to state, I had mentioned that levy here in July, I think in August also, but one of the issues that we've, both the schools and the fire district are facing is the month before I took office, 5 different tips were given away to developers, just sheets and the Drayton Hall property alone, 3.6 million is being diverted away from schools and 1 million away from the fire district. And that's not even the largest projects. So it's the combination of all these giveaways where the responsibility for the growth expenditure is being pushed on the residents. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I still fight for that not to happen. We don't need to incentivize development around here. Everybody wants to come. Those giveaways got to stop.
Anybody else would like to speak at this time?
It's John Jones of 9446 Main Street. I run business at Macon, Maine. I'm here I talked to the zoning board last couple weeks ago. I want to make sure that the zoning and everybody's on the same page. There was some discussion about my business last month on the 17th that I had too many hazardous materials on my property. I contacted EPA, Homeland Security, Board of Health, and the Fire Department, all. Board of Health has no problem with that. That was dismissed. The EPA, not a level 2 business. Level 2 has to have 10,000 pounds of chemicals on a location to be a level 2 to be registered. The fire district came down, did an examination on my property. I had 2 or 3 failures on electrical problems that have been fixed. There was nothing wrong with the chemicals. They had no problems with the chemicals whatsoever. And I'd like to put this thing to rest. For somebody to come here and do a bomb threat to try to get a panic going on, I think was ridiculous. It's like hiring fire in a movie theater. It's wrong, it's rude, it's stupid, without doing any knowledge. He gave his wrong address when he spoke. He tried to say that it was in a residential area. It was not. I think we all know who the person is. And I just want to put this thing to rest. I get a fire inspection due this week. I will bring the papers where I passed my fire permits. And then I hopefully to put this thing to rest. They say I have too much chemicals on storage. I go through 8,000 cases of shock a year.
30 seconds.
And the fire department doesn't have a problem with it. The health department doesn't have a problem with it. The sanitizer, for God's sakes. As long as I keep things separated at my food store, they don't have a problem. I hope that we'll put this thing to rest. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time like to come forward?
Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road Southwest. Tollgate Road south of I-70 has been a speedway. People come down off that hill at the overpass at I-70 and they just go quite fast, and it's 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. But about 6 weeks or a month, 2 months ago, the township put an electronic speed reminder sign up on the southbound side, and I can attest to the fact that that has been effective. been very effective at slowing people down. They still go quite quickly northbound because there's no sign, but the southbound sign has worked, and I appreciate the township trustees for putting that up.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. Who's next?
John Canara, 10785 Palmer Road. I still have a concern about the road project and the road work we're having done here in the township. I guess, only got 3 minutes, so I can't cover a whole lot, but I'd like to know, where is the stockpile that this material is coming from, this micro surfacing material? From what I've read, that is a very critical part of this process. It needs to be monitored. It needs to be tested. The quality of it needs to be checked constantly. Do we have a quality control person on this job? Do we have one of our road crew members watching this job daily, checking it out? Monday, I had a sweeper truck come down our road. First time since I've lived there. My wife lived there 65 years. They've never had a sweeper on our road, but they came down. Monday was a very cold, humid, wet day. It was misty rain in the morning. They put the microsurfacing down on Palmer Road from Tollgate to Mink Street. From what I've read on this, it says that this can't be applied when it's 50 degrees or lower. But if it's 45 and rising, they can. Government specs. There can be no freezing temperatures in 48 hours. It takes 1 to 2 hours of drying time. They closed the entire road from Tollgate to Mink Street. Both sides closed down. That curing time is affected by temperature, cloudiness, and even shade. So your 1 to 2 hour curing time could be 2 to 4 hours. On that day, it was a pretty nasty looking day. Supposedly that stockpile has to be inspected and tested. During rain, it should be covered at all times, protected from moisture. There's a moisture content that needs to be inspected. I think state jobs, when they have road work done, they have a person assigned to the
30 seconds.
they have a person assigned to the project. So that's my concern, that we're not getting what we're paying for, and it looks pretty crappy. My next concern in 10 seconds or less is I have a concern about raising the administrator's spending expense to $10,000. Great, she's here, no problem with that, but I think the second meeting that she is here, we're asking to raise her spending expense. Thank you.
3 minutes. Who's next?
John Hanson, Ridgewood Drive, Etna, Ohio. So a lot of this, I'm going to just go easy tonight, but all this is about public records requests. So the two categories right now would be the 2 August videotapes, which Mr. Evans has refused to produce. And while he's put it on YouTube or Facebook or something, he has put a whole bunch of commentary on there. And I think that if it's a public record, I would have to have the actual unmolested video. And this is no different than if we requested a transcript and Mr. Evans interlineated all his comments in it. That's what this is like. And I think, I held off for a while because I thought you were going to get a prosecutor's opinion on whether or not Mr. Evans has to turn these over. And I would like both August videos clean, unmolested. The second audio thing, also a Mr. Evans thing. By the way, I did get a turn down request from Mark immediately that I couldn't have that video, which is interesting because we probably have 15 or 20 public records requests out there, and they've been maybe as early as May. We have a lot of public records requests that are totally ignored, and most of them barely acknowledged. But the audio from the executive sessions, that seems to be a public record now that it's disclosed. And I think on the agenda of the canceled meeting, there was some talking about how you're going to handle it. Yeah. So I would like to know how you're going to handle those records, and particularly Mr. Evans' constant business here with recording stuff and not releasing it. So that's about all I have tonight. I would like to have clean video and audio on those, on all of it. And what was the other request we had? Just so many pending. But a lot of them also were with, regarding which
The
one?
zoning commission?
Yeah, there was a lot of zoning commission requests, and there also was a lot of past things about the tollgate cement plant or the Continuo project or Chingle or whatever you want to call it. And you said you sent my request to your attorney, and I never heard back. It's kind of odd to send one guy's request to get, so I would like to get some feedback on what we're going to do about public records requests, because they're either public records or they're not. And if they're public records, let's see them. Thank you.
2 minutes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Public comments? There will also be the opportunity at the end of the meeting to have 2-minute public comments from the residents as well. Thank you. At this time, I make a motion to, we're under new business now. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for Resolution 2024-050, and that will be a motion regarding the zoning amendments that were referred to us from the Zoning Commission. Is there a second to that motion?
A second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
The public hearing is now open. This resolution is a resolution to adopt, deny, or adopt with modifications the recommendation from the Zoning Commission pertaining to the request to amend the zoning resolution to wit Article 9, Sections 906, Local Business, 907, General Business, and 908, Accommodation Business. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak at this time to those proposed amendments? Either let's go with those that are in favor of the zoning amendment, and then we'll be followed up by those residents that are opposed. Is there anyone at this time that would like to speak regarding the public hearing? Do the trustees have anything they would like to add?
A few things. I'm not sure if we start with the resolution for the public hearings. Usually that's after we just open the public hearing, hear it, close it, and then propose a resolution or not. I don't know if that affects anything, but
Well, I'll be happy, Mr. Elmser, but I'll be happy to read the resolution so that everyone, in case you do have any comments for or against, you'll hear the whole resolution.
what I think what's more important is the changes proposed in that. Now, there have been a lot of changes that were proposed. I know Mr. Olson had worked quite a bit with that, and I did meet with him. One of the suggestions I had made and have been making is that anytime we get anything from the zoning commission, probably even within the zoning commission itself, that any changes are either footnoted or side column with an explanation why. Because what we're getting is just a whole list of deletions and additions without explanation. So it's kind of hard for us to kind of go back through. With that, I do have a lot of questions on a lot of the deletions of that, but I think right now the important thing is the other gasoline stations that need to be addressed. So I'm not sure what the pleasure of the rest of the board is, but I would like to see at least change, make the modification, removing those as proposed in there to kind of protect the areas, like I said, Columbia and 40 and other areas that there has been interest in getting semi-fueling in there, which I don't think is a good location.
Ms. McKee, do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I read this resolution and I know we need to get it done based on the fact that if somebody did come in and want to apply, that they could be honored with that. So if we decide to go ahead and move forward on this tonight, it'll happen as early as tonight, right? Is that my understanding? Yeah.
30 days after.
Is it 30 days? I thought once the board votes on it, we can go ahead and, because when I went out and researched it.
No, because the public has an opportunity for a referendum, so it takes effect 30 days after
So 30 days,
our
but if
approval.
so it's 30 days after the fact, but I'm saying if we vote for it tonight, can somebody come in tomorrow and
Yes.
apply
Yes.
between that 30 day that we have to wait? Let's call it like a cooling off period.
No, they can't apply because it does not take effect for 30 days.
Yeah, let me give you a little historical context here. These amendments to the local business, the general business, and accommodation business, those were initiated by a previous zoning inspector. And so that went to the zoning commission. And the zoning commission spent a lot of time on making a lot of recommendations, a lot of changes. Those were then, according to our process, were forwarded to the Licking County Planning Commission. The Licking County Planning Commission came back with some recommendations, some things they didn't approve. There was also an opinion from the prosecutor. That went then back to the zoning commission. We had talked about starting over, but they had put a lot of work and time into it. So we went ahead and began to, both staff here, began to work through that to make various changes and corrections. In doing so, one of the recommendations from our staff was that some of the changes that were made were not synced up with some of the definitions and other sections of the code, and that could cause a problem when you're interpreting the code. So as a result, the recommendation that came forward after review by not only the zoning commission, but our consultant and our new administrator, we wanted to come forward tonight with a modification of the recommendation that came from the zoning commission, because we have all had concern about this bulk refueling and that would pop up in various areas and be detrimental to the township. So that's some of the historical perspective. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time? I want to give the public an opportunity if you have any comments or questions at this time.
I actually have a comment,
Go ahead,
a question for Letitia, if it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Are there any, besides the other gasoline stations with the truck stops, are there any other areas that you deem critical to be addressed immediately that would be detrimental to the township if we left in now instead of addressing right now or postponing?
Okay.
Because there were a lot of recommended changes, and I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. Like we removed the concrete ready mix and asphalt plant in the M1 that was that could be adjacent to residential. That's now protected. I just want to make sure that there's nothing else like the Residential hotel that's going up right now on 310, that was allowed because they used residential hotel that was in there, and the prior board had to pull it out afterwards. I want to make sure that we're proactive enough, not just reactive.
Well, let's explain on that residential hotel. After speaking with the actual attorney and also the owners, it's not treated as such a hotel. It is called that, but it's not treated as that. It does not have furniture, like when you check in a hotel. It does not have furniture in the place. You do have to lease, and they will do 6 months lease, but most of their leases are 1 year or more. So it's not treated as a hotel. I think that word hotel throws a lot of the residents off. Yeah, so I just want to make that clear.
Well, I think that's my point exactly, that they use that provision to be able to get apartments in there. And that's prior, Mr. Carlisle had stated that the apartments at High Point behind Speedway were going to be the last apartments. And then those came in under residential hotel, which they could be either apartments or the residential hotel. So that's why I'm asking, are there any others that, you know, because again, you look at other gasoline stations, you don't think truck stop just by the description. I want to make sure that we're not missing something that maybe the zoning commission thought was very critical, because some of these things in here, like book print, you know, that aren't very intrusive, I would believe, like a truck stop would be.
I think if there are any other items, we can certainly give the zoning commission an opportunity to give them some time to go ahead and look at other things. One of the other things that has come up during this whole discussion is the importance of redoing the entire zoning resolution, and so that we do have consistency. We have previously talked about hiring a professional firm to come in and redo the entire zoning resolution, which I believe the board has been supportive of, and to make sure that we get the consistency and that there aren't conflicts when we do that. We've talked about that with the zoning commission, and I believe at a very soon date, hopefully we can move forward with getting the consultant to come in and do the entire zoning resolution. We're in the process, and hopefully soon, of getting the land use plan done and then redoing the zoning resolution. So I say that in the context of what we're looking at here tonight. This is but a section of that. There are many sections that need to be changed in our zoning resolution, and we're going to need professional help in order to do that in a timely fashion.
Well, on that point, I'd say that one of the issues has been the zoning commission. I don't think has been provided the proper support needed. I think that'll change now with the new administrator. I mean, they were working on this with the prior zoning inspector for 3 years. And it's, you know, again, I think we'll move forward, but just an outside firm just to take it, I'd still like to see the zoning commission work on these matters with proper assistance. Just to hand it off to a zoning consultant for 70 grand and say, you know, give us something.
Well, let me clarify.
But that's for another discussion.
Let me clarify a few things. We've talked to the zoning commission that they still will be an integral part of any process, because it does go through the zoning commission. So I appreciate all their efforts. There's been a lot of change in the last couple of years, but anything specifically to the public hearing on this text amendment? Is there anything at this time? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you will have the floor. Thank you.
Letitia McIntyre, 15 3rd Avenue, Southwest in Etna. These are questionable, but if you want to add them in, just because we did have a concern. Section 4, wholesale trades, under R, coal and other mineral or merchandise wholesalers, just because of, it's kind of obsolete, but also we don't want that in the area because of the fumes or whatever. That may be one that is questionable. Number 8, finance and insurance. L, that's 522298, other non-depository credit intermediation, which is also known as pawn shops. We had a concern about that. And then number 12, administrative support and waste management and remediation services is in, which is repossession services. Back in the day, there was one in Mayflower where there was a repossession lot there, and there was a lot of activity there. So I personally thought that that was a little sketchy sometimes, not because of the business itself, but the people that come in. Those are the 3 sections I see that probably would be the most vital, other than the gas stations. It's up to you what you want to do about that. Those are the only 3 I really see.
Do you know if there's been any imminent talk of those type of businesses? Pawn shop right now, I think with just how hot the market is, I don't know if it's very, affordable for a business like that. But, repo, I know I think the BZA turned down that request on Mink Street for a tow lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which that would be very similar, I would think, operationally.
But tow lots are in this resolution under, and I'm very sorry, I was scanning through this really quick, but it is allowed under, I believe it's transportation and warehousing. So that portion though is a little different, because that is a lot set aside just for repossession. And I don't know if it's a big deal. Used to be, but it's nothing that I know that's coming in right now.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else at this time? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, public hearing is closed. I will make the motion to approve Resolution 2024-050 as written, with the following exceptions. Section 2C of the resolution shall be stricken, and the recommended amendment to Article 9, Section 907C3 shall be denied. The resolution reads that whereas, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. I'd like to start by reading the resolution. Whereas the Etna Township Board of Trustees held a public hearing on October 15th, 2024 to hear the recommendation of the Zoning Commission to amend the zoning resolution, and whereas the Zoning Commission recommended approval of text amendment AM 24-01 Appendix A submitted by the Commission as presented, and whereas the amendment to the zoning resolution pertains to Article 9, Sections 906, local business, 907, general business, and 908, accommodation business. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Etna Township, Licking County, Ohio, that the following resolution shall be, and it hereby is as follows. Section 1, that the Board of Trustees denies the request to amend the zoning resolution submitted by the Zoning Commission in Article 9, Sections 906, local business, 907, general business, and 908, accommodation business, as presented in Appendix A, and this is an important phrase, excluding the exceptions listed in Section 2. Section 2, that the Board of Trustees approve certain amendments to sections of Article 9, Sections 907, general business, and 908, accommodation business, as fully described below. Item A, the following 2 sections shall be stricken from the zoning resolution. First item is Article 9, Section 907B62, NAICS Code 447190, other gasoline stations. And Section 2, Article 9, Section 908A2C NAICS Code 447190, other gasoline stations. Item B, the zoning resolution shall be amended to read as follows. The first one, Article 9, Section 907B6 KK NAICS Code 457110, gasoline stations with convenience stores with no bulk truck refueling and/or truck stops. And the second item is Article 9, Section 908A2B NAICS Code 457110, gasoline stations with convenience stores with no bulk truck refueling and/or truck stops. And the item that this resolution that was then stricken is that shall be denied is this following section of the zoning resolution, and that is Article 9, Section 907C3F NAICS Code 457120, other gasoline stations excluding index entries for marine service stations and truck stops. In the motion, the original motion, that shall be denied as well.
Do you want to correct, you misstated Section 2AI, you stated 907B62, it's actually 907B6LL.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said 2, but that's actually else. I didn't see that they were capitalized. Thank you. I stand corrected on that. Any further discussion from the board?
The one that was stricken, 907C3F, I don't see listed.
I'll refer to the township administrator on that.
In that was included in the amendments that were brought forward from the zoning commission. That is to add that section to the conditional use.
Oh, it was to add it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, until such time as some parameters can be put around that, I mean, we want to make sure that we're treating everyone fairly that comes forward. And so until we can kind of figure out what those parameters are and build those into the zoning code, then it's probably best not to add it as a conditional use at this time.
Okay, maybe I was just confused because I was looking at 907. I just want to make sure we have there's a lot of numbers and that.
It is.
If you look at it, the 3 looks to be added, but only A, B, and C were listed there. I don't know where F then came from. That's what kind of brought my attention to that.
It's because it's in section C, and so it's moved out of the other sections, the B and the A for each of those two articles, 907 and 908, and C. It's moved into C. That's why it was added as section F in the proposed amendments to the zoning resolution.
Okay, without there being a DE or I'm just looking at it there. It just didn't make sense to me why they were trying to put an F in there without the.
Well,
they were
there, and honestly, I will tell you that when there were so many changes in the Word document that as it created a PDF, some of them, because it was stricken, those D, E, and F, or D, E, A through E exist in the code as it is this moment. And so it would have been to add F. But some of the things that were, because they were changing numbers and those types of things, sometimes the PDF, I tried to go through as many pages as I could to verify and add things into the PDF where it kind of just, it reads track changes, it reads a deletion sometimes as it just deletes it in the PDF.
Okay.
And so,
Sign the next one.
yeah, so those sections did exist, so in adding it to there,
Okay, and section 3 is manufacturing. That it just, like I said, doesn't line up. And I would have thought if they were deleting or adding, it would be included in here. But you're saying some sections are just missing.
no, I mean, it was included in there.
I mean, if you look
pull
at
down and look at it.
look at it, because there's only A, B, and C in green with manufacturing in green too.
Yeah, let me pull the original.
So that's what I'm a little confused. I just want to make sure we're.
Sure, we have the right section, absolutely. I did try and go back and check them, I don't know, 500 times because there were a lot of numbers, but, yeah. That was 9, I'm sorry, 907C. 97, and it could be that I made a mistake. I'm happy to.
I just want to make sure because
Yep, nope,
this
I get
will
it.
go out, and if somebody did want to do a referendum, it might be
Right.
challenged or
Right.
not effective.
Yep, no, I get that. Hang on, let me scroll down to see. Sure, there's a lot in these. Agriculture. All right, C3F, C3. 1, 2, 3. So originally, and this is what, I'm going to read what it originally looks like. It was A, which was commercial printing, was fully stricken. B then became A, which was commercial screen printing, so no changes to that. The original C, books printing, no changes to that. So A was stricken, B, C, and D remained, and F was stricken. And so it makes it F because A, if you are not approving the striking of A and E, it still has A, B, C, D, and E, and this would become F.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, going on the township website, it shows the A through E on there.
Mm-hmm.
My question was, what's attached to the resolution doesn't show anything being stricken. Green showing addition.
It didn't show the striking of A and E.
No, not
Yeah,
this kind.
that unfortunately, that was just, like I said, I tried to pick up all the changes. It just didn't, Adobe Acrobat did not like the track changes in Word.
I guess.
And since it's being stricken by motion, it
It's not
actually
applicable,
it's a moot point.
Let me check. B6.
And that was section 3, manufacturing.
So other gasoline stations there.
Is there anything else at this time? Ms. McKee, do you have anything else? I'll call the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee? Yes.
motion passes. Thank you. Okay. It was under new business. Item, that was A and B. Item C, request to send letter requesting reimbursement for the JED and JED-Z boards. I don't know at this time, have we had the opportunity or the time to collect all those estimates and previous bills that we did not submit? I know you had those figures, Mr. Evans, and then my question is, will Refugee Road be another potential request for reimbursement from JED-Z 1 and 2?
Well, if you're talking about the figures for the Reclamite application, those have been supplied, I think, twice now via email. I think it was 34,000 something. Ms. McKee was approved to go to the board. With that request, I believe she did not provide that.
Hold on a
So-
second. Does the administrator have those figures that you previously provided? Because the administrator will draft a letter, and we will present that, and we'd like to get that in prior to the next meeting, which is going to be second or third week of November. So I've had conversations with the administrator. That seems to be the appropriate way to do it. There was indications from Mr. Carlisle that at the last meeting, even though those requests are after the expenditure, that they would at least consider that. So I want to make sure we're getting everything that we've done, like heritage and all those things. I know the paving we got reimbursed on, but I want to make sure we got those other roads that we had worked on previously, plus this current, and anything else that qualifies to be reimbursed. So if you have those, and of course I realize we haven't completed the project on refugee, but if we can get those to the administrator, then I'd like to see that the township gets reimbursed for those expenditures. Because Refugee Road now, with Global Way being open, there is going to be more traffic. We cannot enforce no truck traffic on the Etna Township side. Pataskala can on Refugee Road on their side, but it's still optional whether they're going to enforce truck traffic going down. So I really feel that is an improvement that benefits the JEDSI 1. And I know in the past improvements to JEDSI 1, we've been able to get revenues and reimbursement from JEDSI 2 as well, since it has a larger pot of money to draw from.
Or if you're directing that to me, again, Ms. McKee has that information regarding the Reclamite application and amounts, and regarding Refugee Road, Mr. Burkholder, you have been working with that, so I would assume you would have that information.
Mr. Evans, I'm just asking a simple request. Do you mind providing those to the administrator? You talked at a previous meeting about everyone cooperating and working together. Do you have those numbers? And if you do, would you please forward them to the instead of relitigating and accusing, well, you have those numbers, why aren't you doing it? Could you please provide those to our administrator?
I can provide them
Very
again,
good.
but I have provided things multiple times to you, Mr. Burkholder, and Ms. McKee. This is getting a little ridiculous that Ms. McKee is on the JED boards, and she went to the meeting and requested it and didn't have the information. So
you're out of order according to
not, sir.
Yes, you are. You continue to level accusations and attacks against your fellow trustees.
it's facts. How many times do I have to send it? But I will send it
Very good.
if
Thank
you
you.
two won't.
So I'll make a motion, even though we've done it in the past, I'll make a motion that we gather that information and make a request to the November JEDSI boards, which would be the appropriate ones, and then we work with the township administrator to put forth that letter. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second, and with the discussion, we in the past, to get that reimbursement that we did before, yes, provide it to the administrator. They will do a letter, bring it to the board, and they will present it to the board. It's done in a professional manner. We don't have to go back and forth. So we will make sure Mrs. Betzel gets that information. We can move forward.
But I would just like to add again,
The board is expecting.
but I would like to add that this board already motioned and approved for Ms. McKee to present that to the JEDSI board, and she failed to, and that's, and now I'm glad we have the administrator, but we didn't have it before. So Ms. McKee failed, and again, I'll send the Reclamite information to the administrator, but Mr. Burkholder, you're asking about the Refugee Road, and you were over that project. So
I don't know if any of that's reimbursable. You mean as far as the improvements with the roundabouts and everything?
yes, you just asked about it.
Well, some of that, previously you worked with that in the funding of that, but that's not what I'm asking about. I'm asking about, since we got reimbursement for the paving, have there been subsequent treatments and improvements that we can submit to the JED and JEDSI board?
if you want to submit the Cape Seal, but
Yes.
that's outside the district, but we can
Well,
submit
let's
that.
work with the administrator so we can recoup as much as we can on these improvements. That will help the bottom line for the township. I'm going to call the question. Roll call, please, on the motion.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. The motion passes. Now, request for payment. I'm going to make a motion to reimburse Nancy Galena a refund of $400. Is there a second?
I'll second.
You have a memo on this in the packet. Eventually, what happened here is our zoning department misadvised Nancy Galena, and there was an investigation as far as her request regarding her parcel and residence on it. She was told she would have to go for a variance. Upon further investigation, we discovered that actually there was a denial from our zoning department, which appeals to the BZA are free. They're not charged for those. So in discussions that we had with zoning staff, and we also talked to the BZA, that we felt it was appropriate to issue her a refund for $400 since in fact her appeal did not cost and she should not have been advised to go for a variance. We all make mistakes, but we wanted to make it right and treat her right on that. So any other questions?
Nope.
I'll call the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Is her address and stuff in there?
Yes. I thought it was. I saw
We'll get that to you.
Well, actually,
Item E is a request to change draft agenda distribution date to the Wednesday prior to the regular trustee meeting, which will be the following Tuesday. Is there a motion to honor this request?
so moved.
Okay, motion by Ms. McKee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Evans. Any discussion?
Since we're changing that, I know I spoke to the administrator that she would like all the trustee requests by Monday prior, so I think I'd like to include that in there, just for clarity.
I have no objection to you, Ms. McKee.
Not at all.
Very good. There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Is there a motion to request to increase the authorized monthly purchase amount for the township administrator to $10,000?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Discussion.
That's a lot of money. There is no way a township should be giving an administrator $10,000 a month allowance for purchase authority. I make those words clear. We are not a city, and we're not, and normally a city does that because you have your fire department, you have your police department. So then your administrator would need that kind of money in case something goes on. Second thing, we meet twice a month. So if we have a spending that huge, it comes to the board. So it wouldn't be any sense of giving her. I have Mr. Burkholder, our president of the board, has a $1,500 limit.
1,000.
Okay, 1,000, sorry, corrected. So I think we can give that administrator the $1,000 as well. And if we need to make a big purchase, which has to come to the board anyway, we'll make the purchase. And, so I don't see why we're doing a $10,000. It's just, it makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Well, I'd like to say that I think, for one, we can't micromanage. Things come up. Right now, the road department supervisor has up to $5,000. And what I think should be done is that authority and review be placed with the administrator who is over the road department, and possibly reduce the road superintendents. We could do it afterwards. But things do come up, and there are emergencies. There are, during, again, the winter, if a truck gets stuck, broke down, there's been emergencies, and a lot of times trustees aren't available or don't show up for meetings. So I think we shouldn't micromanage. This is less than the administrator's salary each month. It's not saying that it's going to be maxed out each month. We brought in an administrator to finally properly handle things that have not been handled. And a lot of the stuff, this isn't a household budget. We're over a $10 million budget entity. And $10,000 a month is not extravagant for the operation of this township. When things come up, we had the AC issue here for I think $2,700. There's been other expensive items that have come out, and a lot of times you can't delay. So I'm for it. Again, I think, and I've spoken with Ms. Bedso, that I believe then the road superintendent's authority should be diminished because she'll be making most of those approvals, but I still want him to have some to be able to take care of some of the items he has. So that's all I have to say.
Ms. McKee, we had talked about $5,000, but I originally recommended a $7,500 limit, but I understand your concern. Major purchases should come through the board. One of the reasons for this increase was the air conditioner did go out on it. It had problems. It hadn't been maintained it appeared since 2013. And so it finally broke down, even though we had it serviced recently. There was a leak in the coil and we didn't have enough authorization, so that's why we had to have that special meeting that we had. But Ms. McKee, would you entertain $7,500 if we reduce it?
I still think that's a lot. I mean, we meet twice a month. If we have an urgent, we call a special meeting. That's what special meetings are, emergency meetings. We're not a city. You know, when you're dealing in a city, you have fire trucks, you have emergency squads, you have those kinds of things where you have to have that kind of spending authority. We're a township. I don't think we should have that. That's a lot of money to give out like that. And to have that authority like that. I just think we shouldn't, as a board, be doing that. I think a reasonable amount would be $2,500. We've been here, you've been here almost a year now. You've never had to spend that kind of money. I've been here 3 years. I never had to spend that kind of money. So I don't see why are we trying to push it up to that. You know, what's reasonable to me, I would compromise. I would say $3,000. Because if you're going to go to remove some of the spending limits from Bubba, our superintendent of the roads, let's compromise then. So $3,500.
I'd be comfortable with $7,500 if we need to reduce it. But again, Bubba, this board was fine with Bubba with $5,000, Mr. Copley, and I think it's needed. It's not it's going to be maxed out every month. I'm sure with some purchases that if there's questions, they'll come to the board, but we can't micromanage. We can't tie the hands, but we need a lot of stuff. We need a lot of stuff right now, so I think I'd like to amend it to $7,500.
I'll second the amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? And your points are well taken.
Please. So for instance, we do need to purchase new furniture. We need table in there, and we need furniture for her new administrator's office, our zoning office. Yes, we need to purchase furniture, and I'm all about purchasing the furniture. She will need to bring us 3 quotes so we can decide on from the board, because this is our decision that we as a board have to make. So if she brings us 3 quotes, even if it's over $10,000, still the board makes that decision. But when you just give somebody an open checkbook for 10 grand, you don't need to come to the board for it. That makes no sense. What do we need a board for? So,
I don't want to micromanage somebody on a purchase.
Mr. Evans. You don't know what micromanaging is, obviously.
On a purchase of a desk.
The points have been made. I'm going to call the question, please. Okay. On the amendment. Roll call on the amendment.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Any further discussion on the main motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, and I would ask that the administrator place on the next agenda regarding the spending authorization of the road superintendent, so we can revisit.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Well, that's not a motion, I'm just requesting that.
No, we just were voting and you started talking.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So what are we voting for on the second one?
For the 7,500?
7,500.
Yes, yes,
And no.
no.
Yes, yes, and no.
That's right.
Then do we, while we're addressing that, want to deal with the point of contact for vendors and attorneys to change that over to the administrator officially? So I'd like to make a motion.
Well, we just got that resolution. That's one of the items we have here, so go ahead.
It's one of the items. Well, I don't think it's one of the items, but I'd like to make a
Well, it's the
motion.
one we amended, correct, as far as the prosecutor?
Well, that's only for the prosecutor. That, I made a motion to change the point of contact for all vendors and, I'll say outside attorneys, to the administrator. As it should be, as she's dealing with everything.
That's not Resolution 2024-053?
That is only dealing with the county prosecutor.
Is there a second to Mr. Evans' motion?
I'll second discussion. So we can
Discussion.
move going into discussion. So we want, what you're saying is you want to give her the authority to talk to the prosecutor, but are we going to still move with the resolution?
Yeah, the resolution's separate.
To give, like we have Mr. Burkholder, where he does the resolution and gives the information, are we going to still follow that process?
Well, the prosecutor's separate, that's in the resolution. However, this is for vendors for any of our vendors, the cleaners, that, because there have been prior motions made where Ms. Burkholder's in charge of that, and I think it's got to be clear that Ms. Betzel, our administrator, is the one that's supposed to be dealing with that, and especially outside attorneys also. We have that resolution because the prosecutor requires resolution or motions for that, so that's why I was doing this separate. It's just putting it in.
Well, I won't support that at this time because we're still working with vendors during the transition. And to say that we can't do research with a prospective vendor, but yes, the township administrator already has authority to deal with vendors, vendor issues and everything else, but I'll support the resolution regarding going to the prosecutor, but I'm not going to be in supportive of this motion.
I'm disappointed in that, why you want to maintain control. That's why we have an administrator to deal with these vendors, whether it be it IT, security, the cleaners, anything, and especially outside attorneys. That needs to change almost immediately because of the failures, Mr. Burkholder, to address the issues, even pointed out by the judge in the ruling and asked by you on the stand. So it's a real concern, and even the outside attorneys have been looking forward to dealing with an administrator so things can be properly addressed and they actually receive responses. So I think it's necessary to delay it. Is just delaying what's needed.
Well, that's your opinion. I respectfully disagree, and I'll call the question on.
We have emails
on the motion.
There was a second to the motion.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
No.
Ms. McKee?
No, not on the second. So this one is separate, so
Yeah.
just make that clear.
Is there a motion regarding the porta-john out here, keeping that at the park? I believe that's not the one. That was a motion with.
Yeah, I'll move to extend the portalet indefinitely at the park.
I'll second for a discussion. And the reason why I don't bring up discussion, I don't like to bring up the past, but we had that out there for this last several years, and it served its purpose. And I know I was harassed about it for several years. But I think if that's going to help our community to have a place, if they're in this area, I'm for it. I mean, I think we should, but I just want to make it clear that that's more spending, Mr. Evans, that you made a big deal about before regarding that porta-john with me.
It's $200 a month.
Well, you
The
complained about it.
the only thing I
over
said
2
is
years.
that there was no consideration for a handicap bathroom, and that was the
That's
change
not-
I instituted. But no, I'm for it, and I believe Mr. Olson and others have asked if that could be maintained through the winter. I checked with Miller, I believe it's Miller Portables, and it's the same charge through the winter. If we don't approve this, they will pick it up November 1st. But when you talk about, it's $200 a month to provide those using our park, a place to go to the restroom. And now it's a handicap, so they can bring their kid in there comfortably in that. So I'm for it.
Well, I'm for it, and we can definitely, indefinitely is a long time, so we can definitely revisit this. Would you let me finish, sir?
Sorry.
If we can look at it this winter and see what the usage and everything, but I'll be supportive since.
Do we want to put a date?
So I don't think we need to put a date. We can leave the indefinite. We can always come back and modify that if necessary. It gives us flexibility, so I'll call the question.
Also, the football teams are out.
Oh, that's great.
So they're here until the middle of November probably.
Roll call,
Yeah.
please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Very good. We have Resolution 2024-053, resolution authorizing the administrator to request legal opinions. And this has to do with the fact that we've had a lot of strict restrictions put on the Board of Trustees regarding trying to get legal opinions from the prosecutor, who by law is our attorney for the township. A lot of that is because they have been flooded with all kinds of requests for opinions from multiple trustees. That's not the way the system should work. I've read this resolution. This was added tonight, but I am supportive of it. This will streamline it. Mr. Evans, you recently sent a request to the prosecutor that was not the proper procedure, which you admitted, and yet you seem to think that was okay. It was not an emergency. It was an emergency for the homeowners that were affected by a sewer backup, but it was not an item that had to go to the prosecutor immediately. So I'm all in favor of this. This gives the flexibility and the latitude to the township administrator to, as she deems necessary, not you, Mr. Evans, not me, not Trustee McKee, but as the administrator deems necessary, because a lot of these opinions, some of which were brought up tonight, rightfully so, to get timely response from the prosecutor so we can make timely decisions, whether it's regarding public record requests or other items. Because as our administrator has pointed out very effectively, efficiency is very important for the township. We need to be faster and better, and now that we're adding more staff and everything, that's certainly a kind of goal that we want to achieve. So do you have anything, Ms. McKee?
I'm just excited and ready to move forward.
And I do have a comment on what you stated there. The prosecutor originally requested that all items and I actually was the one that created the template and to make that easier, but it wasn't after you, Mr. Burkholder, repeatedly submitted requests without any information, and the prosecutor would say it has to follow that they required a resolution or motion. So
That's correct.
It's not, Mr. Burkholder, you spoke at length on this.
Okay.
And one of the issues, again, you say streamlining that and tried to say it's not me that'll be requesting it. I'm the one that proposed and actually put in that it's the administrator that should be doing it and the point of contact and that. So stop trying to shift the blame to me when you yourself failed to respond, failed to act through our attorneys, and it's in email records. So it's not just an accusation, it's fact. So I'm glad we're moving forward with this. We still need to address the outside counsel because that's the real issue there. But even with this, the prior meetings, I just had a call with the developer again, wondering what's going on. And you failed as the creator of the agenda to even request the opinion of the prosecutor for all that time. So I'm glad we're moving forward, but this is a failure of you and your leadership that we had to do this.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. Roll call on the resolution, please, and that'd be 2024-053.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes?
Ms. McKee?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pardon?
Who is the first one?
Mr. Evans? Ms. McKee, right?
No.
Did you make the motion to,
No, I didn't.
the second?
No, I seconded it.
Yeah, okay. Next item is the intergovernmental agreement between the Board of Etna Township Trustees and the Board of Licking County Commissioners and the Licking County Engineer. This has to do with Pike Street. And to put it simply, we can either let ODOT do the letting, which means they would be the lead agency when it comes to contracting and everything, or we can do it through the county engineer, which is called a local let. We have been recommended by the Director of the Transportation Improvement District to go with a local let instead. And the reason for that is that his advice is that we have better control, better quality control, better inspectors than leaving that to the state of Ohio. This has to do with the Pike Street reconstruction. But in order to do that, we have to have this intergovernmental agreement between the Licking County Engineer and between Etna Township. Now, this document has been drafted up. It's been reviewed by Carolyn Carnes, who is a assistant prosecutor at Licking County Prosecutor's Office. Our contact is normally Amy Gill as a prosecutor, but we need to, this is a timely document that we need to move forward with, and that's why I wanted to bring it forward tonight. I'm going to be asking conditional approval for it, and the reason is that our phase 2 of this reconstruction need to be submitted to ODOT, and this project's been, as you know, started several years ago. So I'm going to make, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions under discussion, but I'm going to make a motion to adopt this intergovernmental agreement between the Board of Etna Township Trustees and the Board of the Licking County Commissioners and the Licking County Engineer on condition that it is reviewed by the Licking County Prosecutor. Our Township Zoning Administrator has already looked at it. She now, by this resolution, will be able to go to the prosecutor, and if there needs to be any review, it's still coming out of the prosecutor's office, but we have a different assistant prosecutor. But by getting this passed now, we can move forward and get those second phase, and of course, Ms. McKee worked on the Pike Street as well, got his funding, and so that's my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Regarding the notices too, should we change that to administrator, since the administrator will be, again, dealing with all this?
Yes.
That I have there, and just for context, this is what was brought up in September.
Yes.
That it was going to be brought to the prosecutor. Mr. Burkholder, you failed for 2 meetings to even address it.
Do we have the minutes from them?
No, we could do it from a resolution and it's instant, but again, it's the timeliness
I
that's
understand.
lacking.
I understand.
The response that's lacking, the oversight that's lacking.
Let's move forward. Please, let's move forward.
I'll call the question. I'm not going to take more personal attacks, Mr. Evans.
It's not, it's
If you have
facts.
a question on the document,
It's
then let's go to
facts.
that.
You
Roll
want
call.
to attack me?
You're out,
Mr. Evans?
you're out of order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes, please, thank you.
motion passes.
And that was
Thank
with the
you.
change to the administrator for the notice.
So we have the intergovernment. Okay. I'm going to make a motion, and we'll have discussion, to remove Trustee Mark Evans as the Vice President of the Etna Township Board of Trustees, and to replace him with Trustee Rosalind McKee for the duration of this year and until the reorganization meeting in January of 2025. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
I find it interesting that Mr. Burkholder, you didn't place this on the agenda when it was published. You tried to sneak it through, and again, it's the dishonesty and the deception and lack of transparency. You still want to maintain control of the agenda and that, but it's not on there because you didn't want anybody to know that you were going to propose this. And I'd just like to say, so you're proposing making Miss McKee the vice president when she just doesn't show up to special meetings without any indication if she's going to show up or not. She violated the Open Meetings Act, which we discussed in depth that, oh, we're going to fight, we're going to do this during the campaign and that, and how wrong it was breaking the law, but yet you want to make her vice president. All the things that you promised, not only me, but the township and residents, you have turned your back on. And this is just another, with the lack of transparency, trying to shove stuff through and being petty because I'm holding you accountable for the things you just absolutely refuse to do. When our outside counsel says that there's an issue and they're begging for an administrator because you just won't respond to them, well, you're replacing your replacement with somebody that just doesn't show up to the meeting.
That's all you can say.
That doesn't even announce to anybody, I can't make the meeting.
Okay, Mr. Evans.
So no, so
How long are you going to go on?
technically Robert's rule is 10 minutes, but I won't go for that. But again, you say you want to move forward, you want to do this. This is just another indication, Mr. Burkholder, that you do not. You betrayed everybody in this township and you're doing it again. This is just about your self-image. You don't want to be attacked, but how about just do the right thing? And this is definitely not that because again, we can go back to, do you want to admit Ms. McKee violated the Open Meetings Act? Violated the law, and now you want to make her vice president?
You're making the accusations, keep talking.
Yeah.
You've made them too, Mr. Burkholder, but this is how you want to proceed. I'm sure maybe there was an open meetings violation between you and McKee on this. Of prepping
He
it.
makes up stuff.
I can guarantee
This is just shocking and more of the, I would have hoped that with the hiring of the administrator, we could have stopped the nonsense, but obviously it's going to continue under Mr. Burkholder's presidency.
I'll comment, but I'm going to give Ms. McKee an opportunity first to respond, and I'll explain why it was on tonight's agenda.
Let me
more
be
than happy
clear.
to. Go ahead.
I came into this township as a trustee, didn't want to be president of this board. Within 2 months, I had to become the president of this board because Mr. Evans wanted to fight, and fight. That's all he wanted to do. We spent 2 years putting out fires, putting things in place because he continued to harass. The same harassment he did to Gary Burkholder here, Mr. Burkholder, same stuff he did to me for 2 years. There's nothing changed, but everybody else is the problem. So it goes to show you where the problem really lies. I want you to know, Mr. Evans, there was no discussion. You can claim anything that you want because you've done that for several years. You lied on so many people. You ran the good people out. Laura, 20 years, ran her out. John, you ran her out. John Singleton, you ran her. You go around recording people. You have harassed people. You bullied people. It's time for us to run this township like it should be ran, professionally. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And I've got some time. Would you like me to present Mr. Johnson's own words that you and he violated the Open Meetings Act on the union contract?
You're out of order. I'm next, Mr. Evans. You had your piece. Let me just explain.
It's on YouTube.
First of all, I had no conversations with Ms. McKee ahead of time, and I was very hesitant to do this as a motion tonight and add it to the agenda. And I'll tell you why. But Mr. Evans, quite frankly, we get a new administrator, and before she even starts, you start trashing me again that, well, Gary hasn't done this, and maybe now we'll have the proper administration, and Mr. Burkholder hasn't done this, and he's failed at that. And then, and I know what developer you're talking about that hasn't gotten the response, because that response that we have to give him possibly has to go through a text amendment. We do need an opinion from the prosecutor. And so as of yesterday, it wasn't on the agenda. I probably would have come back with a resolution at the next meeting. But enough is enough. And I have a responsibility too to try to put an end to this. As a vice president, you have a certain duty. Look at Robert's Rules of Order. Look at our own handbook for our employees. Attacking people on Facebook is not professional. It's not proper. But you seem to be the exception. You can do that. Look at the attacks on the previous administrator. Look at the constant badgering and harassment of staff and bullying and myself. How much longer? We got the new administrator and you still can't resist going after individuals. That is not a positive reflection. And you have forfeited. It's a privilege to serve as leadership. And you're not a leader because you constantly beat on people until they agree with you. So yeah, I didn't want to have to do that tonight, but I said enough is enough. We get the new administrator and you're still out there on Facebook, you're still making accusations, you're making personal attacks, and enough is enough. Now, Ms. McKee and I, we agree on maybe quite a few things, but not everything. Right. But she's a duly elected official. She has a right to disagree with all of you, me, anyone she wants to. I respect that. But Ms. McKee isn't out there on Facebook bashing me every single opportunity they get. And by the way, I talked to that outside counsel that you claimed. I specifically talked to that individual. I said no. He said his memory was, it'll be nice when you get an administrator. Mr. Evans, let me finish. You like to make assignments to people, but do you ever follow through with actually doing the work on some things you research?
Nothing.
Maintenance of this building.
For 2 years.
Getting the streaming. So I've said enough, but this change has to be made because you are not representing the township in a professional manner.
No, I'm sorry, the developer you're talking to, it's even in the packet material.
Yes.
That was in September. The prosecutor said the board needs to make the motion, and you failed to do that. December 1st, December 7th. So this is my time again.
December?
October 1st and October 7th of this year.
I wasn't here October 1st.
You set the agenda and it did not have it on there. So that's the point. And you set the agenda for the October 7th and it didn't have it on there. The point is that it had iPads on there. However, this stuff that the other outside counsel didn't say, that if I asked for those emails to be released and waived of the attorney-client privilege, and it will show the communication about that. So this nonsense and about harassing other people, you ran out of here when Miss McKee threatened to call the sheriffs on you. And about the harassment of other, you're changing your tune about the former administrator and everybody else, even Miss Brown, the former secretary. So it's obvious that you have just flipped like McKee when you came into office here. You haven't followed through on anything. There's residents, vendors, applicants, attorneys, and I've still got another minute.
No, but you're out of order because
you
are out of
there,
order.
that is proof that you've done that.
Can we call the
Out of order. And if this motion,
You're
passes,
mad, you're caught.
If this motion passes, you need to remove that title on all of your correspondence because you will no longer be the vice president.
This is how petty Mr. Burkholder is now.
Roll call, please. I'm calling the
Mr.
question.
Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Resolution 2024 fiscal officer, 2024-052, approve the purchase orders.
I have it.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Do you have a copy of
But you don't put your copies of it?
Is there a current copy available, or
It's on the,
it's not in the meeting agenda, but is it what was emailed?
yeah. Yep. Got that.
I'd
It's fine.
like to request that it just be included in the packet material, so we don't have to go back.
That's done. Mr. Evans? Do I?
Is there any
I'm
questions?
trying to find it.
There's a motion.
I already pulled it up and saw it, yeah, I looked at it earlier.
Do you have any questions?
Do you want me to make another copy?
I'm good. Not for me.
Let's see, bills, purchase order.
When it comes to the payment of the bills, I will be asking for to hold one of those bills so that we can verify it's the proper amount.
Okay, because there's only 3 items, correct?
Correct.
For the PO.
The fixed AC, road repair, and the car allowance for.
And that's resolution 052?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Is there a second? A second. Question regarding payment of the bills?
I'll let you know.
Are there anything missing on this? There was no employee payroll during this period, was there?
It's 3 months.
I know last meeting was missing the payroll.
There's a question regarding payroll.
What about payroll?
There was no payroll during this period?
No, it's holding. And I
Is
didn't,
that-
I didn't get anything done until this evening, so I couldn't even put it on there.
So wait, so this one's updated?
Yeah, I brought you a copy because Gary wants to talk about something. We're gonna change it.
Yeah, the Enzo Cleaning Solutions, we want to verify that because that is on the H2O grant as far as reducing salt on the roadways and getting it off of our trucks. And they installed the cleaning system, which I talked about previously. There were some items on there like the scissor lift rental and stuff. We wanted to verify that we would not be charged for that because we believe that and possibly some other items were outside the quote, but we wanted to verify that first though. So we'll have that on the next agenda for payment.
So that should be removed?
Well, the check's been written, but I don't want us to send it out until we make sure it's proper, the proper
We can
amount.
remove it and put it on the next payment list.
So that's the only thing. As part of the quotes, we put the quotes in the grant, and so we wanted to make sure that what we were quoted and what we submitted for reimbursement, and these are reimbursements. So we want to treat the vendor properly, but we want to make sure that it lines up with what we submitted in the application, because that's what we'll get reimbursed. I think it's $32,095 is the total. We have 3 different vendors we're working with. And so we still need those monitors on the bridges to give us road temperatures and then the specialized snow blades for the snow plows.
So you're saying the invoice they submitted was not reviewed or approved?
No, it was reviewed and that's, I said, what's this actual charge? It didn't match up, but if I want to make certain that we got a second corrected invoice before we pay it, because that invoice will have to be part of the record that we submit to EPA in order to get reimbursement. We spend the money, then they reimburse us.
Okay. And then I did have a question on the consultants, McBride Dale, and some, the outside attorneys. Are we tracking? Because we have specific amounts and just so they don't exceed.
Yeah, that invoice I'll be happy to give. I do have a question. It wasn't very much, but I'm not sure for what services it was, so I'll give it to the township
It
administrator.
was talking about,
They've had what we previously paid, and they have what, we still have some on that purchase order, which I double checked, but I don't know, I think it was $400 or $500, but I didn't see an itemization on for what consulting that was. So the fact of the matter is, since we have an in-house consultant doing technical reviews, and by the way, if I haven't mentioned it, we found out from Lincoln County Planning Commission, 60% of all technical reviews, which are the engineering, the fire department, soil, water, come out of Etna Township. 60%. So that's the kind of volume this township is dealing with. That's the kind of pressure on staff and everybody else, including Lincoln County has a lot of pressure on them to try to keep up with the requests and the process and everything else. So I'd like to get those things out just so the public knows how active it is and how much work has to be done. But the fact is our in-house consultant is less than McBride Dale, and so we've switched a lot of that work in-house rather than having to work with them out of the Cincinnati office. Anything else on this? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Is there any requests?
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Who wants to transfer?
I don't have a transfer. I do have things. We have, at the end of September, we have $9,285,000. Last month, we had $311,000 come in, and we had payments of $236,000. So that's, we have a big bank account now. That's all.
I did have a question. Have you begun any discussions on the budget or getting that information together?
End up getting together in the next couple of weeks to get it together, yeah.
Okay.
Public comments, anyone at this time? You have 2 minutes. Name and address, and I'll give you 2 minutes.
Steve Wood, 6968 Palmer Road. One of my questions is, and maybe Susan can help me with this, but she's the administrator, she's got a lot of experience in this. In other entities, government entities, is it always so crucial about an air conditioner breaking down that it can't be fixed, that somebody has to be brought together in a meeting to handle that? Or is there normally a budget that's associated with the building of that government entity? And if so, why does this administration not have that? That way the yellow lines could be fixed, everybody could see coming in that there's a trip hazard, the doors could have been fixed just at the stroke of a pen. I don't understand a building of this size not having a regular maintenance program. I would suggest anyway, and it be taken care of, rather than the trustees who have a lot of other issues they need to be dealing with other than building maintenance, obviously. Don't have to be bothered with that. If that's something you can discuss with me afterwards and explain to me and make it more clear. I mean, my home needs maintenance, and I either take care of it myself or make a phone call to someone. Do we not have local vendors that look at air conditioners, that look at buildings and take care of maintenance? Why has there never been somebody hired on a regular basis to take care of these small issues that turn into major issues in this township and should not be a major issue? Second of all, under the new land use,
30 seconds.
how many acres have been added or deleted or designated as M1, M2, and M3, I guess? Where are they located and how do they correspond with each other? Is there 5 acres for M1, 20 acres for M2, and 50 acres for M3? Is there any percentages you can give me on those?
I can't off the top of my head. It's a good question, and we're working to get that open house scheduled where we'll have the corrected maps, larger format and everything. That'll be a public open house. We'll have various stations, and you can come in and ask those questions and take a look at the map. So
I just think that by the M1s that were out there, some of them were eliminated, and some were eliminated as use after people were already inquiring about what they were doing, where they were going to put it, to this township, and given all the right and wrong answers all along, and trying to play catch up all the time. And now I know my time's up.
Time's up, but I would like to give the township administrator a few minutes briefly to explain, these will be part of the changes, routine maintenance and everything, what best practices, and that will, and if you want to just comment now, the transition we're going as far as you having the authority to take care of these smaller items so that the trustees focus on the policies and the projects.
Sure. I mean, essentially, you know, with, this is my 6th day, so I haven't fixed everything, but, you know, we're working on it. But, you know, I mean, I think from the trustees' perspective and from my own, the more efficient way for us to govern is to have a little shift in some of that ability to take care of the things that need to be taken care of. An air conditioner might not seem important to you. For those of us that were trying to work when it's 76 degrees in here, it's a little more important. And so, you know, that impacted our ability to work for that day, honestly, or at least made it more uncomfortable. And so I do think that moving forward, we want to make certain that for those things that are maintenance, that are emergencies, you know, we had to have an emergency meeting just for the air conditioner, that we have perhaps a different path to get those resolved that doesn't take up their time and allows us to get the business of the township moving forward. So I do see there being a shift. As with any shift, you know, it's going to take some time as we work through that. I think going through the budget for next year may allow us to have some of those shifts in there where I'm used to having a budget where at least internally we've got some purchase orders behind it, or purchase schedules, not orders, sorry, purchase schedules behind it, so that you can see this is the expectation of what we plan on spending those dollars on. And so really when you're kind of approving the budget, you're kind of approving those expenditures, if you will. Not that we wouldn't necessarily have to come back for some things, but that you've got some line items so that you can spend, it's already been approved via the budget. All we're doing is spending a pre-approved dollars. And so, I mean, I think that's really where we want to see ourselves, because again, let us, one, we need to be able to take care of things in a timely fashion, and two, you know, nobody really cares about our air conditioner unless you came in that day. And so, I mean, honestly, you really don't. And so I don't know that, you know, we have to have a lot of conversation around that. Just let us get it fixed. We're all happier. You're happier when you come in. And so I do see that change moving forward.
Thank you. I think that was helpful. Anyone else who would like to speak at this time, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it was for me, actually.
Ryan Davis, 8807 Watkins Road. I'm glad our administrator spoke a few minutes to kind of bring me out of the rafters from a few comments earlier from the trustees. I thought you started on the 1st. I was going to call this your 2-week anniversary, but I was hoping you don't put in your 2-week notice tonight, so after all this stuff going on. I find it absolutely hysterical that one trustee can get up here and blame another, saying they're letting down all the things, when the same trustee that I pointed out several times in previous comments still has given up, essentially, on trying to do streaming. When that was one thing that he had commented about several times that he was going to accomplish. And what I was thinking of, the zoning board is doing a great job. I do not attend all the zoning meetings. I'm sorry, that's a personal issue. You could actually, maybe prior to this meeting, went back and watched her meeting if it was recorded on the township equipment and in preparation of the meeting. Because you voted yes, and you didn't seem real confident about voting yes because you weren't quite sure of things. If you could have rewatched her meeting when they discussed it, it probably would have answered your questions, but that's just me. You can't attack people here and on Facebook and then complain about getting attacked. We're just sick of it. You screamed almost about how this would be a new day with the administrator starting, 2nd meeting of the month. I don't think there's anybody in this room that thinks we've heard anything different from you than we did prior to her. It's not fair to everyone in this room that attends, that cares about this township. The people are still waiting on last week's meeting, and who knows how long for this meeting, because if more people weren't sick of watching these meetings and watched them, they would see the kind of behavior in this meeting.
30 seconds.
Let down the township. I'm glad hopefully our administrator can fix the door, because that's another letdown we just pointed out. Baseless attacks. Nothing is stopping you, that was my timer. Nothing was stopping you from outworking both of these trustees. You could provide all the information to a trustee and let them be the point of contact. You've been upset ever since you got to be not the point of contact for things, which is sad. Shake your head. And then, sorry, I'm over my time, but there's nothing that stops you from doing things. I have not seen any proof that says you cannot work on something. You show me that proof.
It's a board of 3, it requires 2.
You can take any topic, any action, any resident, and work on that. Nothing stops you.
Desks, mosquito spraying,
Mr.
everything has been
Mr. Evans,
blocked.
you're out of order. You'll have time under trustee comments.
John Kennard, 10785 Palmer Road. I gotta agree with Mr. Evans that $10,000 is really not that much money when you're spending somebody else's. My personal account, $10,000 is a lot of money. That's why I can stand here today and say I owe nobody nothing. Everything I own is paid for, and it comes from hard work and managing your budget. My next point is zoning. I'm not sure if we got a zoning inspector now or if they're enforcing zoning, but there's 2 businesses on 310 right now that were car lots and truck sales. The car lot is a disgrace. The only thing that represents a car sales on that lot is the sign. He's got cars in there have no bumpers, no hoods, no motors, no wheels. It's a pick and pull lot, basically, I think. The other lot, all of a sudden, there are tankers sitting in there now. There's piles of, I don't know what it is, but there's tankers, there's front loaders, there's bags of material sitting on this lot. I know it's sold, at least the sign changed, but I don't know that the zoning changed, that now it's not a truck sales lot, but now it's some kind of a, I don't know if it's a manufacturing lot, I don't know, but there's stockpiles of material, open material, bags of, like concrete, cement, whatever, 2 big tanker trucks, a front loader. So I'm not sure what's going on in that business, but I think our zoning inspector needs to check that out for the residents in the township.
Could you forward those addresses to the administrator so that they can get over to zoning?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Mr. Kennard. Yes, come on up.
Isn't the one property that the cars are all tore up for sale?
I think I saw a sign there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you have a name and address in 2 minutes.
Judy Newman, 9630 Lynn's Road. At the canceled meeting, we were going to discuss Ganell, and I was wondering if you could share any updates.
Don't have any updates at this time. That's an issue that I want to bring forward at the next meeting. I will recall the fact that wanted to hire an engineer. The board did not support that a month or so ago. Would like to see about hiring a surveyor, and would like that on the next agenda.
Is there a possibility that we could bring the Licking County engineer to do a survey? Do they do that? I don't know.
I think it would have to probably be an outside. We have talked to the county engineer about some of the items going on over there. I'm not an attorney. Their primary focus is, are they in compliance with the subdivision regulations? And of course, then you got soil and water and all those other things. But we still have those issues. I have forwarded, we do have from Neville Watson, which is the compliance officer for Licking County. We have had correspondence from them, so it is an ongoing thing. But one of the recommendations is, as it has been before, is that constructed sound wall in the proper location. So.
I'd just like to add that the location isn't of issue, it's the height, it's the sound study, it's all that. And that's where Mr. Burkholder was supposed to go to the attorney to ensure that, and with the consulting zoning firm, to see if it can be enforced. He has not done that, and he's pushing forward a consultant just on the location, but that's not what's needed. And we addressed that back, and I think that was like June or before that, okay, that's going to be done, and he's failed to do that, and it is of great concern.
Well, technically, we were told that it was going to be a 30-foot buffer mounted with a 20-foot wall, with fingers in our yards for drainage. None of that has came to fruition. You know, I had my property surveyed in the spring, and the wall is technically 7 feet, which the PMUD requirement is 8 feet. So they're not in compliance there either.
Well, I have to correct Mr. Evans. I did talk to legal counsel, outside legal counsel, and they recommended that they thought that the best item right now was the survey of the wall. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is you have your preliminary development plan, which is what you say you're going to develop, and then you have your as-bills, what they actually built, and then you have to reconcile. So our zoning office has gotten some of those as-bills. We've also gotten the preliminary development plan, which talked about that. That wall was at varying heights all throughout there. Some of it's 20. I was there the day that there was the walkthrough. We actually had one of the engineers from the county measure it. I think at your place it was about 10.4, 10.5. Other places up near 40, it was 20-some foot tall. Those were on the plans that way, and we actually talked to a subsequent engineer and said, well, why did you vary the wall? And his response was, I don't know why. That was part of the original plan.
The shorter wall is by the residents and by the semi-dock.
Absolutely, and as we all know, it's also in a valley, so when you get on the Scannell side, and that was part of the walkthrough, their parking lot is at a higher elevation than where the wall is based in your backyard and residents there.
And the water is running off on them.
Right, and so there's a variation change there. Now, one of the things that in my research was that part of the PUD zoning, especially zoning, because you spell out exactly everything you're going to do. One of the phrases I recall, and I want to verify, was that it was put in there that the previous trustees would determine where that wall was placed. So those are some of the things we've got to sort out, as well as it placed where it was supposed to or not. But that, if it was on the preliminary plan, and if they build it according to that plan. Now the height is another issue, the sound study, what was their sound study? I have had some discussions, preliminary discussions with the administrator already. And so those things need to be sorted out.
Because our houses are a higher elevation than the back of our lots.
That's correct.
And
one of the things, unfortunately, a lot of things are said or promised, but were they ever actually in that development plan so that they're enforceable?
And that's what needs to be determined of what can be enforced and what's not. And we're on our 10th month in. There's been no progress. And that's been my frustration, as well as everybody on your road. So I have every confidence that the administrator is going to finally move this forward, but Mr. Burkholder just dropped the ball.
I know my neighbor Vicky, she had numerous emails back and forth with John Carlisle. Because the wall was supposed to be nicely landscaped, with flowering trees, and she wanted arborvitae, and, we have nothing.
Correct.
You've got your two.
And with the 8 feet, there's not even room for the trees.
Correct. Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
Thank you.
Okay, trustee comments?
Okay, I'll start. A couple things about the zoning commission that a resident mentioned that if it was taped to watch. They went over that for 3 years. That's a lot of review. But regarding the streaming, I was the only trustee that even attempted to use a convoluted system. Ms. McKee specifically said, that's not my job.
You're
And-
right. No, I'm gonna call you out
No.
on order. I've looked, no,
That
Mr.
is
Evans,
fact.
I have looked at Robert's Rules of Order, and you are not to disparage another member of this board. I looked it up, and you continue to do that, so you wanna
That
follow
is
the, you wanna follow
fact.
the rules.
That is
if you talk
fact.
about the issues, not
So,
attacking
okay,
fellow
so again,
members.
I'm the only trustee that had attempted to use a convoluted system that went from a cell phone hotspot, the webcam, to the cell phone, to the laptop, to YouTube. Nobody else touched it. You could smile all you want, shake your head all you want, but I've been the only one that have been putting these meetings out since I was a resident at my own expense. So we'll get there, but you made another comment that, well, you can just propose things and do it. It's a board of 3, it takes 2. The other 2 block everything. Nothing can move forward. Even like I said, mosquito spraying. That couldn't even be done, and then they ran out of applicator. And resident after resident complains about what's not being done. The Scannell issue should have been handled beginning this year. It wasn't. Nothing is being handled properly. The zoning enforcement has been done. It's a lack of oversight. There's been repeated things brought to the attention, not addressed. It's always, we don't have staff, we have consultants, we have everything. So that's been the frustration of everybody. On Palmer Road, where they're fixing semis on their front lawn. And it wasn't even in the system, and the resident and myself had to repeatedly bring it up to the attention, and it was a lack of oversight. Now, moving forward, I have every confidence that our administrator is going to properly oversee that and get it done. But again, it's been the failure of the past there. Now, regarding the prosecutor's request, Mr. Haynes, I thoroughly agree that should have been addressed, and I've requested at each meeting that the resolution be addressed so that we can get the response, and then either provide it, not redactions, whatever. But again, Mr. Burkholder has refused to act on it. It's just more delays. That's all it's been, is delays. Even, it's frustrating for everybody. And it's been said, Mr. Burkholder said, I asked the attorney, and he didn't say. People don't want to tell you to your face you're failing, but I hear it all the time from everyone. At some point, every other day by somebody new. Even the Lakeland Hills development, that hasn't been addressed. That's been dropped. They're upset there. It's just amazing what hasn't been done. Now, it will be done, again, with the new administrator, and hopefully there's not interference there, but this has just been crazy, just a lack of follow-through on everything. Now, I will say one point of information for people. The road work was brought up today. Due to the colder weather and temperature limitations and the rain, that work has been pushed back 2 days. So day 3 and 4 are tentatively scheduled for Thursday and Friday. So that includes Palmer Road, Lynn's Road, Watkins Grove, and they've installed the northbound lane of Smoke Road. They'll have to get the southbound there. But honestly, it's just continuing nonsense in this township. And for, again, Mr. Burkholder to make a change to vice president, somebody that doesn't even show up to meetings and doesn't even tell staff or anyone they're not showing up, violates Open Meetings Act, threatens people. It's just ridiculous. And I've been the one that have kept every word, every promise from the beginning. I didn't change when I took my seat like others. I didn't go back on my campaign promises or any of that. And then the final thing I will say is about the fire levy. That shouldn't be needed, but it is. because of people of the past like John Carlisle, Jeff Johnson, and Randy Ford, who've given away millions to the developers, diverted that money from the fire district and schools and put that on the back of the residents. The fire district and schools should be flush with cash with all the development going on. But like I said, just Sheets and Drayton Hall alone, $3.6 million diverted from the schools and $1 million diverted from the fire district. Now, there have been others that ran for this seat that wanted to double that and divert all that money to the water district, which again, Mr. Burkholder promised in his campaign that he was going to hold them accountable. Yes, we are. We're 10 months in, and he avoids that like a plague. There's been no action, no accountability on anything, and Mr. Burkholder mentions leadership. He's failed miserably. Everybody. And like I said, I'm confident this administrator will be able to get stuff done, but there's a lot of changes that need to be done.
Mr. Evans, would you please read Robert's Rules of Order? You are out of order, but I just let you continue to, I guess, dig the hole. You haven't changed. You won't. You want to litigate things from 3 and 4 years ago.
I thought you can't disparage.
This is about the future. I'm just saying. I'm saying.
You're breaking your own
No,
rules.
you're still litigating. I'm not saying you failed. I'm saying you're breaking. It's the chair's obligation to tell you when you're out of order. Ms. McKee, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I have nothing to say.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I help you, ma'am, back here?
Yes, I would like to know the trustees' comments about the comment that my father said about his business on a domain that another resident went through and said that it was a dangerous zone. I would like to make sure that that has been cleared and everybody knows that my dad has applied and gotten everything that when that resident comes back to.
Would you do me a favor and at least put your name on the record and your address so that we, and I know what you're talking about, so I do want to give you the opportunity to get that in the minutes. So I'll give you 2 minutes, and I know it's a follow-up to what Mr. Jones had, so.
Lee Jones, I work at 9446 Main Street,
Right.
which is Pools and Spas.
Yeah.
There was a resident that made a comment here the other day on September 17th that our location was a fire zone. It was a bomb waiting to happen. And that person used the address of a residential address. And he was actually speaking about his business location, which is across the street. We have went through and talked to the EPA. We've talked to Homeland Security. We had a visit from the fire marshal to do a fire inspection, and I just want it known to the residents of Etna Township, we take it very, very serious. That complaint was, there was a complaint anonymously 2 years ago, and we had the health department come in, check everything out, and they were okay. We're a family business, and we would never do anything to hurt Etna Township or our customers that are like family to us. So I just want to make sure that it is known, and you guys comment today, that the next time somebody comes in and makes false accusations, that's not good. You should protect your citizens as well.
Yeah, I'd be happy to comment on that because I've been working with the zoning department on that. I obviously met with Mr. Jones, but also met with the complaining party and recently advised him because I continue to get text messages regarding that complaint. That has been resolved. I'm glad you came to the zoning commission. You came here, you put it on the record, and I have referred that complaining party to the township administrator, who I've briefed on that portion of the complaint and will continue to follow up. But I have forwarded that on to the administrator so that individual can be informed that there's not a problem there.
What was the resolution on storage about outdoor materials? I think that was the one concern.
And Mr. Jones, you mentioned you got an inspection coming up real soon as well, correct? In the next 2 or 3, 4 months?
2 weeks.
2 or 3
2 weeks, oh, okay. So, hey, you'll bring that report to us and it'll be, move on from there, give it to our administrator. She's here every day, Monday
The
through
fire
Friday.
marshal was sick, so he couldn't come back.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Ms. Burkholder, did you have that information on the storage of materials? I know that was one concern. So if we could put everything to bed, because you're saying it's not dangerous, but I think one of the matters raised was, can you store materials outside? Was that addressed, Mr. Burkholder?
Yeah, it was addressed. The EPA's addressed this.
No, our zoning.
We counted, well, that's, as far as outside storage, nothing regarding the chemical, but outside storage, from the research we've done, is not necessarily specifically addressed. That's one of the reasons we want to get the prosecutor's opinion. There are outside storage in residential neighborhoods, commercial, manufacturing. I believe that's a weakness in the code, is how do we handle outside storage? But we have not found any violation in the zoning resolution regarding that outside storage. And as far as the hazardous material, it's not a hazardous material.
Are you gonna make any of your lumber companies put all of their lumber inside? Are you gonna make any of their car lots?
Yeah, I'm not saying, that was just one of the questions raised, so if you could put everything to bed, that's the only thing that wasn't addressed, but.
You are very welcome to come to the store at any time. And
Oh, I've been there. I
yourself.
bought products.
Everything, there is not anything that has crossbones and skulls. We know exactly where to store the muriatic acid.
Right.
And where to store it.
Very good,
Our
but,
families feel very safe coming.
well, I'm glad we got it on the record so we can put that issue to bed.
All right, I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call,
You don't
please.
wanna do the little snippets, what you have?
Oh, for the next meeting,
What else you have on?
like the JED, and the JED's appointment deadline is Friday. Those, you want to mention that?
All right, deadline's Friday, which is the 18th. Anyone interested in going to the JED, be on the JED, serve on the JEDSIs, JEDSI 1 and 2, and then we've got JEDs. Submit your letter and your qualifications to the township office.
ODOT public meeting regarding the Pike Street roadway.
Yes, October 29th.
6 to 7:30. Halloween trick or treat, Thursday, October 31st, from 6 to 8 p.m. Now you can adjourn.
Very good, thank you.
That was a fun fact. See, we added fun facts.
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Yes.
Very adjourned.